I hope you all are having a fantastic day, wherever you are at. Some of you may already be into the new year. For those of you that are already in the new year, Happy New Year. To those of you who will be enjoying the new year, let me just wish you a Happy New Year. Also, although technically that'll be tomorrow, but anyway, we're here and we're going to enjoy. Hopefully other people come in and we can talk and learn and all that fun stuff. Hello, Carol. You ever get a feeling it's just going to be us? Oh my goodness. We'll give it a little bit. And if nobody comes in, then I'll sit here and I'll pout like Herman Munster would. I probably shouldn't though, because the whole house might come down. Oh, wow, we have two people that are two people. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and get started, I guess. Hi, all. I am Nature Guy X46, and this is Nature Guy X46 Presents. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We are talking about dragons. And this is a subject that might, I don't know, I have three people that might make you reconsider some stories that you've heard about dragons. But first, a reminder to subscribe if you're not, and go ahead and click that little like button too while you're at it. Now, before we get into the scaly underbelly of a fire-breathing lizard, we need to look at our recap. And so that's what we're going to do. We are going to look at our recap, if I can find it. Looks like I'm going to have to do some cheating. GG, not really needed. Thank you. What was I gonna do? Thank you, Carol. Okay, weekly recap. First off, 6 videos, 7 shorts, 3 live streams, and 17 posts for last week. 3.5 thousand people tuned in, and we got 14 new subscribers. Yay us. Or yay me. This is what they watched. They watched whale tails, right whale species focus, and what animal is this? So that's cool. People didn't just watch, they reached out. We had 67 likes, 3 shares, and 27 comments. And I need to switch that to all messages. And I think... What was your most watched video, your most viewed video last week? Was it what animals is this? Right whale species focus or whale tails? What do you think, Carol? What whale tails? Yes, it was whale tails. It got 1,083 views in the last week. And that's it. And now we can get back to our live already in progress. So this is... I need to sit up because I feel like you guys can't see me. Okay, so we have a couple things that I want to, first off, talk about. And the first thing is this. I got a new figure to add to the collection. You can see the horns. This is an Irish elk from Papo. And yes, this is the way they looked. Sort of. They had really wonky antlers. Really bizarre antlers on him. Yeah. So, the next thing I want to talk about, and nobody is here besides us to talk about it, so I may come back to this if the other people show up. Saturday, we are doing an additional live. It will be at noon Central Standard Time or 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to start off with Saturdays, and if we get a fair amount of people coming into it, then we will continue to do it, but we will also I will also maybe add another day, either Tuesday or Friday, depending upon my schedule. What I need to know is, do you want the same topic as the evening live? Right now, that is the intended plan. And I'm doing this because I have a good chunk of my viewers, my subscribers, who are from the UK and from Europe, who are staying up till 2 a.m. in some cases, or later, to come to my lives. The goal is not to do that. The goal is to have them come in at this time instead of super, super late. So this is going to be a thing going forward. Now, you are more than welcome to participate in whichever live you want. And now that we have that out of the way, let's get wild. So, dragon myths pop up around 4,000 years ago in what is now Iran, Iraq, that area. In ancient Mesopotamia. Now, there were also dragons in China and in India and even in Egyptian myths. There are also reports of dragons in England, but most of those come much later in history, or seemingly much later in history. Hi, Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire. I say we. I mean, Carol and me talked. And I thought it was, since we have a fair number of people from Europe and the UK, I'm going to start doing a Saturday live it'll be noon my time, so the same time that you're coming in now. Doing a live every Saturday instead of doing it so late at night or early in the morning, we are going to be doing it at this time versus later. And if this goes well, then we will move it to other days as well, based on my schedule. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. Now, it's important to note that not all dragons were evil in the stories. Some of those, I'm glad you like that. The concept of a truly evil dragon really came about when Christianity came on the scene. And neither here nor there. Under Christianity, dragons became a symbol for the ruler of HE double hockey sticks. Where did these stories of fire-breathing monsters come from? Is it possible that these legends, or at least the ones in England, could come from sailors and others? How could sailors be responsible for the legends of dragons? Well, sailors would have had contact with other civilizations who perhaps had their own dragon legends. But they also would have seen things in their journeys that didn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. Perhaps they might have seen something like this and thought a monster or a sea monster, because it's not a whale, but it's big like a whale. Depending upon where they were at, they might have seen one of these and thought, oh, well, that's interesting. What is that? Because these guys can get 20 feet long and are quite big and ferocious. If you didn't know what it was, your brain might have taken over and began to create their own imaginary creature out of that. Even something like this could have spawned something. It is thought that maybe Komodo dragons came out of this myth. They even created monsters out of this, the Babirusa, and all types of animals. So, imagine that you're out and about when you see something sticking out of a rock, or maybe something that has been... Wait. I'm skipping. If you can imagine seeing an adult saltwater crocodile. And like I said, these guys can at least get to 20 feet, maybe bigger. Could you imagine seeing an adult saltwater crocodile and you had zero idea what a saltwater crocodile is or what a crocodile is? What would your mind start doing? Your imagination might run wild and you might develop a story in your head about what that creature was. Same thing if you had encountered a thank you for the hearts. Same thing if you maybe saw a Komodo dragon. Your brain is going to start working. Especially if you already have stories circulating about something like this. Now, imagine you're living in England, Europe, or other lands before science could explain things. And you're out and about, and you find bones sticking out of the land. Uh-oh, what was that? You might have seen the bones popping out of rocks. Maybe they were washed out of the rock. You might have seen bones of dinosaurs, antlers of a Irish elk. Look at those bad boys. You might have found the horn of a woolly rhino. The tusk of a mammoth, or maybe even the bones of a mammoth. And immediately your brain starts running with it. Now, some of the femurs of some of these sauropods, these dinosaurs with the long necks, are called sauropods. They walked on 4 legs. The femurs on some of these guys can be around 8 feet long. So they're pretty big. Your imagination is pretty powerful. And so we can create images in our minds that aren't always based on reality. It would be super easy to create stories of giant lizards or other fantastical beasts. Those fossils or those animals that you had never seen before, they create these images in our heads of animals that maybe exist but don't really exist. And we've seen this throughout history. We've seen this with things like vampires, werewolves, superstitions about animals. The human mind is really, really good at filling in blanks or gaps in knowledge. So you might see an oarfish, and unfortunately, I don't have a photo of one, but these guys get gigantic, like really long. And they're rare on top of that. So you might come up with a story about that. We as humans have a need to understand the world around us. And if we can't come up with a rational explanation, or we don't have the scientific background to fill in those gaps, then we pretty quickly jump to irrational thought. Now, I'm not knocking anybody's beliefs, but I've been in a situation where for a split second, I thought I saw people in the water in the San Francisco Bay. But it became super, super clear right away that they were either sea lions or seals. But if I didn't know already, one, that there were sea lions and seals in that area, my brain might have jumped to the conclusion that other people jumped to, and that is that there were people-like creatures in the water of San Francisco Bay. In other parts of the world, the skulls of dwarf elephants on certain islands around Greece actually spawned stories of the Cyclops. And while I can't explain away every single mythical creature, there are certainly some that have their roots in just good old-fashioned life or in dead things. As mentioned, our brains are good at filling in the blanks. Diseases and decomposition of bodies were great unknowns in the Dark Ages, and they helped fuel stories of vampires and other mystical creatures. But how do things... Yeah, but they also have this really big area where the trunk was, or where the trunk would be, that is big and open right in the center of the face. And early man thought that that was an eye socket. You'll have to look. So it's possible that early man I don't know where he went. It's possible that early man had seen these bones. Yeah, but if you didn't know... Yeah, but I don't think they made that connection. If you were to find one of these bones and you didn't know what it was from, it wouldn't take you very long to create a story in your head about what it was. And it doesn't take long for someone else to hear your story because you're excited, or maybe you're scared. And so you go and you tell somebody else the story. Or maybe you show somebody else your find. And it doesn't stop there, because that person is going to going to go tell somebody else. And eventually the whole countryside knows that you found the bones of a dragon. Or maybe you just came back from a trip and you're telling everybody about these monsters that you saw. And like Carol said, Chinese telephone, absolutely. But as it is told to more and more people, the story contorts. It becomes something much different than maybe what it was before. Until eventually the bones of a dinosaur becomes the bones of a dragon. Until that story is retold and retold so many times that eventually a fire-breathing lizard is born. And then as time moves on, they get blamed for forest fires, or maybe somebody forgets to extinguish their fire at night within their little hut, and villages burn down. And much in the same way that, say, a plague outbreaks in a village, or a disease breaks out, depending upon where you live, you might blame that on something akin to a vampire. There are some signs that we need to be mindful of. But there are other things that we need to ignore, like some of these following beliefs. A child born on Christmas Eve will, when asleep, wander the earth as a ghost. Another superstition says that a person born on Christmas Day will be able to see ghosts. A girl born at midnight on Christmas Day is a witch. A boy born at midnight on Christmas Eve is born a werewolf. A child born at midnight on Christmas Eve is destined to be an evil person. A child or baby who was failing to thrive or seemed changed in some way, they might be said to be a changeling. If you don't know what a changeling is a baby who ended up being basically taken away by fairies and or some other type of fae and replaced with a baby of their own. I mentioned this to put these stories and of other worldly creatures such as dragons into perspective. We put beliefs on things that a child has no control over, or that just doesn't make any sense, and we put meaning to it, for better or for worse. As if being born on any time of the year could possibly mark one as a werewolf or as a witch. A baby who was progressing normally and then suddenly regresses or had slow progression might have been thought to be a changeling in a different day and age. Nowadays, we know that's just not true. So before you get all keyed up on something you can't explain, Look for the obvious and the natural explanations. Okay. So that is the end of my presentation. I still want to know what St. George thought. There is... So, for those of you who don't know, St. George supposedly killed a dragon. But there is no indication. We all know that, yeah, dragons are mentioned in the Bible. But, as mentioned earlier, dragons were a symbol of the devil. So, maybe he didn't fight anything and it was just a story made up to tell people, hey, St. George conquered evil. I don't know. Sometimes we just have stories that raise people up. I wonder if I do need to go live tonight at 7. It seems like, I don't know, if you have questions or comments or concerns about today's live, leave them in the comment section. Again, I am Nature Guy X46, and this is Nature Guy X46 Presents. And if you enjoyed this live and you're watching it afterwards, subscribe, give it a like, that sort of thing. Yeah. I don't see any questions. I did pretty good. I took up a good half hour. Unless you were there and can say, oh, I know how this happened, it would be impossible to know. Like, if you go back and you look at a lot of the old maps, they will be dotted with creatures from that clearly are not real, but are based on what people think they saw, not what was really there. Yeah. Oceans, rainforest. I don't know if I talked about it. I thought I did. Uh-oh. The Komodo dragon was stories. Literally stories that were passed down. And eventually, in the 1900s, sometime in the 1900s, there was an investigation into what these animals really were. And that's when we began to really put science together. And we started realizing that, hey, the story of these really big lizards are true. There were really big lizards hanging out in islands in Asia. Now, do they breathe fire? No. Can they unalive you? Yes. Do they, as I already said, do they breathe fire? No. but they are venomous. And who knows, maybe they have really, really bad breath and whatever. But not something you want showing up at your doorstep at midnight. Maybe they came into contact with people who had seen crocodiles and didn't know what they were. Or maybe they had seen basking sharks off the coast of England or Great Britain and had no idea what they were seeing. Certainly there's all types of creatures out there that could be something else. And like I said, the human mind has to create rational or irrational ideas for what they're seeing. And so we create these fantastical creatures. In some places there were stories of humanoid dogs that walked around on two legs. The idea that there's still dinosaurs roaming the earth in places. That Megalodon still hunts the oceans. None of this has any basis in real truth. So, yeah. We have to expect the unexpected, I guess, when it comes down to it. Carol, I'm going to try going live at 7. I thought I had this announced early enough. Because I posted it last night. I probably won't stay on super long. We have a new subscriber. I don't know. Thank you, Robert, for subscribing. I won't put your last name out there, but I appreciate that very, very much. And hey, Maria. So yeah, stories tend to go round and round and round and round and round. And it's hard to know where these stories come from exactly. Were at one time there flying lizards flying around the earth? Doubtful. Sorry, Marie. That's right, because I keep forgetting, because I'm here in Indiana. Like I said at the beginning, if it's already New Year's Eve for you, have a blessed, happy New Year. And if I don't see you tomorrow, which I may not, have a good one too. No. I'm not talking pterodactyls. I'm talking this type of flying lizard. All kinds of possibilities. The two that I'm thinking might spur these ideas would be the crocodile. Because if you didn't know what that was, and you see this 20-foot creature out and about, you might get some really kooky ideas. Or maybe this guy. If you happen to see him, you might get some outlandish ideas of what is possible. And if you came across these antlers, you might come up with a story about them. I don't know. By the way, this is a newest addition to the collection. And Carol will tell you I was like a kid on Christmas Day when this arrived. But all of these creatures are animals that might have spurred the imagination for early man. And when I say early man, I'm talking more Dark Ages in that area. I don't want dragons to be real. I don't know, maybe they're locked away in some dimensional gate somewhere. Who knows? You know, people are going to call me or people are going to text me. It's going to be when I'm live. That is the most. Or people are going to yell up the stairs at me while I'm live. It's like, yikes, really? So yeah. Dragons, I agree. Dragons are cool. I have a few of them. They don't make it onto videos very often because they're not animals. At least not real animals. But like I was discussing earlier, humans will put I don't want to call it crazy because I mean these people literally believe this stuff. I was telling Carol and maybe Lincolnshire that at one point these were beliefs that people had associated with Christmas and childbirth. These are crazy. A child born on Christmas Eve will, when asleep, wander the earth as a ghost. Another superstition claims that a person born on Christmas Day will see ghosts. Maybe that was Ebenezer Scrooge's issue. A girl born on midnight on Christmas Day is a witch. A boy born on Christmas Eve is born a werewolf. So literally, these kids have no future. They're being marked from birth based on what day and what time they're born at. A baby who is failing to thrive or somehow seemed changed in some way is then labeled a changeling. So basically, your baby gets stolen by the Fae and replaced with a Fae baby. And usually, if that were the case, the child would not be treated super, super good at that point. But these stories of large bones being found, because your typical, I'm going to say typical because they do come in different sizes, but some of the sauropods, the four-legged dinosaurs, the ones like Apatosaurus or, hello, Chelsea. These animals, if you found during the Dark Ages, would have had possibly 8 foot long or tall femurs. That's just the femur. They may have found other bones too. And how do you explain, when you don't know what it is, an 8 foot tall bone or an 8 foot long bone? You create stories. So if I tell Carol that I found an 8 foot long bone and I show her to her, and then she goes and she tells somebody else, and that person goes tells somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, eventually it turns into the fisherman's story of the fish that they caught that was this big but ends up being this big. I'm doing awesome. A little bit apprehensive for tonight, but that's beside the point. Oh, sorry. So we do man has created stories to fill in the gaps that might exist. So because we didn't understand disease like we do now, if a sudden outbreak in disease hit your, okay, Lincolnshire, don't forget Saturdays going forward, there will be 2 lives. One will be at noon, like this one started at noon. You too. This one started at noon, my time, which would be 1 o'clock Eastern time. And I don't know what time that is in Great Britain. Okay, so 6 p.m. In the UK. So if you're in the UK at 6 p.m., which is probably dinner time, we are going to be going live on Saturdays. Now at this point, we are going to do the same live at 7 my time, or I should say at noon my time, and then again at 7. If that gets boring and we decide that that's not really working, I will switch up lives a little bit. So that is the game plan going forward. Hopefully this will stop people from staying up till 2 a.m. or waking up at 2 a.m. to watch live. So that is basically today's live in a nutshell. So I am not wanting to I'm not wanting to ruin people's nights or make people sleep deprived or anything like that. Especially if you pop in all 3 lives. I know at my age, if I did that, I would be in really bad shape. Well, I mean, if I don't expect, this is what I see happening. At some point, I can see where there would be 2 different topics on Saturday. Because I think predecessor might join us. It'll be easier for her to join us during the day. Carol thought there would be more trolls earlier in the day. We've had one guy that we had to warn to watch his language, but otherwise it's been really quiet. Super quiet, in fact. And I appreciate that. So hopefully, bottom line is this helps everybody with sleeping and whatnot. I am going to try to make sure that lives are in the system. I don't know how much of a warning you all got about today. But I will try to have something up. We lost our modem yesterday at some point, so that's why things were a little bit later. Chelsea, I appreciate the fact that you come in. Otherwise, it's just me and Carol, and that gets really old. Not saying that I appreciate everything Carol does for me. I'm just saying that lives, and she likes coming into the lives, but it makes lives much more enjoyable when there's more people in live. So I've done enough talking. You guys need to talk for a little bit. I have 1 person in live. That's what it says. I don't believe that for 1 minute. 2 people watching. Guys are quiet. Making sure I didn't freeze up. Did I miss any questions? I know you don't feel good. And I don't know who else is listening either, so it's not what I wanted. I hit the wrong thing. I hate when I do that. The next live is going to be Friday night. Sorry, there was a bug. Yeah, she's not feeling well. She can. No idea what next year holds. I hope it's a good one. Yeah, from what I've heard, that virus that causes the stomach flu is running rampant. Um, yeah, Indiana is having a surge of it right now. Well, I feel like in some cases, probably not in Carol's case, maybe in Carol's case, everybody goes to dinners over the holidays. And you're around all of these people. Or sometimes you're like me. Yep. In the school, I would be fine until winter break. You guys can't see me again. I would be fine through winter break, and winter break would hit and I would be sick. Like a couple days into winter break, I would be sick. And usually it was respiratory almost every time. I think that's pretty much we push ourselves so much that the minute we relax is when we do get sick. No, it has not been super, super cold. We've had, what, Carol? Maybe 2 days where we had snow. Right now it's 39. Aw. One of the guys that I follow on Facebook just got engaged last night. That's cool. Ew. I don't mind if it's. I can deal with like the cold because I can bundle up. But yeah, that stinks. Not having heat. I don't know why I have started doing that. Um, this is from somebody that works at one of the hospitals in the area. Um, somebody said that the kitchen our patient count for just the kitchen was almost 170 today. The ER was full. Most hospitals are turning patients away right now, and I think that's because of sickness. They just don't have the beds. Or they don't have anybody working. That's sad. I'm a 911 dispatcher, and a lot of hospitals in my county are on bypass. Well, if you don't have enough doctors and enough nurses, what do you do? Yeah. And on my end of the spectrum, if it doesn't get cold enough, another thing that, and I'm assuming that the UK has ticks. It doesn't get cold enough to necessarily wipe out ticks and other bugs, and so we get a bumper crop of creepy crawlies in the spring as well. Um, Carol, one of the hospitals in the area are restricting visiting. As a result of respiratory illness. Four to 8 hour waits for ER. Yeah. And those people that are getting turned away are not your life and death cases in most, um they're going to do what they can, but in some cases you're better off going to urgent care. And if you're sick, stay home. That's what it boils down to. Just if you're sick, stay home. Don't go out. Oh, now that's scary. I was lucky when I had my first kidney stone. I think I waited about a half hour. And that was it. I could see where if you live in an area where, like Los Angeles or Chicago, where your waits could be longer. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Yeah. That will do it too. I don't know if the hospital where my dad grew up, which was a smaller hospital to begin with, I'm sure it serves a much larger area. It is definitely scary. Well, remember what it was like when COVID hit? Really big, and the hospitals were really, really congested. Anyway, is anybody partying or doing anything for New Year's? Anthony Hopkins turns 87 years old. I'm gonna try, but I probably won't get much sleep. Same. Anybody setting any resolutions for the new year? Headphones. No, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would not be able to sleep with them. Yeah, probably wouldn't help either. My only problem with turning up the TV is I don't want to keep other people awake either. So I want to be fair. We're back to two people watching. Okay, y'all, it is almost an hour and a half since I've been live. I'm thinking I'm gonna call it a day. I might pop in at 7 just to see if anybody's live, and if I'm really on top of things, I might come on at midnight, or at least do a quick hi. Sort of a short wishing everybody a happy new year or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to go because I'm ready for a nap. Not that I really need one, but I am tired. So I will see everybody later. If I don't see you later today, have a happy new year. Let me know in the comments what your New Year's resolution is, and I will see you in the next one. Be kind, everybody.